How's it going, Ram fans? April Fool's Day is over and done with, so unfortunately, Rams baseball isn't actually back or filling their roster with guys like Shohei Ohtani. But Monday Night Sports is finally back after taking the week off. I'm Madeline Davis.
And I'm Ella Fredrickson, here as always to get you caught up on everything involved with CSU Sports, including looks into how spring ball is shaping up for Rams football and what some female athletes here on campus think about the unfolding landscape for women's sports in light of March's International Women's Month.
To Cam giving us an exclusive interview with the iconic CSU superfans known as the Outlaws.
And of course, how could we forget about our favorite part of the show, Out of Pocket, where we'll take a look at tonight's national championship game and pick yet another topic up for debate. All of that and much, much more is up next on CTV Sports, which gets into swing right now.
Okay. So while we have been constantly updating you on Rams basketball over the past, 5 months, as we told you coming out of spring break, unfortunately their season has finally come to an end. But hey, look at the bright side of this outcome for a sec. Their early March Madness exit also means that football is right around the corner. And over the past few weeks, the Rams have been getting out there bright and early to try and prove to this new coaching staff that they deserve a starting spot down in the big house when they open up their season come August. And as someone who's been to a few of these practices now, it's starting to become pretty clear that both the players and the brand new coaches are really excited to be there. Something we definitely didn't see when they were led by some guy who shall remain nameless. A lot of this has to do with traditions that Coach Norvell and crew have brought in and really emphasized to this roster, including having players touch a sign that says, "We play the Ram way," when they enter the field and asking some fun questions for the team to answer when they finish off a practice session off the right way. Needless to say, this new environment is very player-focused and allows them to have more input than they have had in previous years and under previous coaching staffs. I mean, just take it from senior linebacker Cameron Carter, who is now onto his third regimen here at CSU in 4 years, and had to say this about what his favorite culture changes have been so far.
I feel like we're way more player-led. I feel like the coach is not really into it like that. I feel like it's the players really getting onto the players. I feel like that's the biggest change. I feel like past few years we had coaches we didn't have players to lead. Now I feel like coaches are leading. I feel like players are leading now. That's the biggest change in culture I feel like we got.
And speaking of players, these spring practices are first and foremost being used for these new coaches to evaluate this roster from top to bottom, both old and new. With the focus being put properly on installing this new air raid scheme that Coach Norvell brings in from Reno. Here are leaders of the pack so far when it comes to wide receiver and quarterback. Kicking things off with wideout, the number one guy right now appears to be Nevada transfer Torrey Horton, who comes to FOCO with already nearly 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns in his first 2 college seasons as a member of the Wolfpack. Number 14 still has 3 years of eligibility remaining, and because he followed Norvell and crew to their new destination here in Fort Collins, it's pretty clear to see why he already has an upper leg on the competition at this position. Ram fans probably remember him from his stellar performance in CSU's last game of the season back in November, where he had 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards in front of a pretty empty Canvas Stadium. And needless to say, I think I can speak for all of us here on campus when I say that we're much happier to have him on our side now. Other notable mentions in the wide receiver race include fellow Nevada transfer Melquan Stovall and Ram favorites Dante Wright and Ty McCullough. And now onto the position that, everyone has been waiting for. It appears that the front runner at signal caller up to this point is another guy from the Wolfpack and freshman transfer Clay Millen, who once again followed Coach Norvell out here from Nevada to stick with the guys who recruited him out of high school. The 6'3" passer has expressed that it was a pretty easy decision for him to follow this coaching staff out here and join them on this new challenge. And obviously, he's real excited to see what this fall has in store. But still, while it does seem like Millen will be QB1, at least at the moment, it isn't stopping this coaching staff from letting others on the depth chart get reps. And after practice on Saturday, that's exactly what Coach Norvell told the media when it comes to the real purpose of spring ball. Take a look.
You know, the one thing that we're getting is a great evaluation of all of our players right now. There's so many reps, and guys are in so many different situations that we're really able to evaluate.
So while the season is still quite a ways away, these Rams are obviously training very hard so that they can find some more success than they did last year. And you can get your first glance at this new look team in action in about 2 weeks at their spring game on April 23rd.
And now on to some, well, less optimistic news. CSU softball traveled to Utah this weekend to take on the Aggies in yet another conference triple header, where after last week's sweep, things seem to follow a completely different story. So let's see how it exactly all happened. Starting things out with Friday night's matchup, Utah State opened the first really strong with a 2-run bomb from Gabriela Jimenez, and although only being 2 scores down definitely isn't the end of the world, neither team was able to put anything else up on the board for the rest of the way, causing the Rams to take the L in game 1, 2-0. So even though number 12 Julia Cabral pitched a pretty solid game and made up for that slow start, only letting up 3 hits against the Aggies overall, the green and gold offense on the other side of the mound just couldn't pick up the slack, which was a real missed opportunity in game 1 to say the least. And after this disappointing L, action continued a day later, where things followed a very, very similar script to game 1. With USU taking the early advantage once again with a solo homer in the bottom of the 3rd. And not too much later, it got even worse, with an infield ribby to drive in their 2nd run. Now, while I'm definitely not a fan of repeating myself, I will say it again. A 2-0 lead should not be the nail in the coffin at any point of the game. But with the offensive funk that CSU was in, it really seemed that it was, with the Rams taking yet another L with yet again another 2-0 final score. But at least this time it wasn't because of lack of timing or contact, right? With CSU avoiding a strikeout from the batter's box all day. So at least they're taking baby steps, and maybe at this pace in game 3 they could actually get a run, and wow, they did. I am shocked. But of course, it didn't end up mattering in the end, with their pitching and defense playing much, much worse this time out. And by the end of the day, giving up a total of 6 runs to the home squad, which ultimately resulted in yet another loss in game 3, 6-1. Meaning that the only green and gold ribby all weekend came from number 23, Peyton Allen, and man, it wasn't until Sunday that she got it. So after this brutal trip out to Logan, the Rams luckily return home this week for another 3-game series against the New Mexico Lobos. For the sake of CSU faithful, let's hope for some results that are more like what they did against SJSU and a lot less like what they did this past weekend.
And now switching things up from the diamond and onto the court, one of our strongest women's teams was up in Laramie, of all places, this past weekend, battling it out against fellow Mountain West rivals Air Force in New Mexico on Saturday and Sunday, respectively. So like I just mentioned, first up on the weekend slate were the Falcons, who the Rams started out really strong against, taking the elusive doubles point after winning at 2 and 3 dubs, which obviously gave the green and gold the much-needed upper hand heading into singles. Things were just like the beginning of the match here when the Rams once again took control and closed out strong, with Sharka Riktorova kicking off this momentum for the Rams by taking her match at 3 singles in straight sets, 6-3, 6-2. And later on, Radka Bushkova kept things going, winning a 3-set match at 2 singles, 4-6, 6-4, 6-4. And the team dub was confirmed shortly after with a win at 5 singles from Lucia Natal, taking down Haley Stelsey in straight sets, 6-3, 6-3. With this victory fresh in their minds, the Rams moved on to their Sunday match against the New Mexico Lobos, where once again the Rams took the doubles point to start things off strong, with victories at 1 and 2 dubs. And moving on to the singles side of the match, the Rams were once again crushed their competition on the other side, not even dropping a set against the Lobos in singles, with Riktorova, Bushkova, and Natal all winning easily in straight sets, which ultimately secured the 4-0 victory for the Rams and marked their first sweep over a Mountain West opponent in, get this, 13 years. Oh, and here are some more milestones. With the 2 wins at 2 dubs for Bushkova and Mihalovic, they are now tied for most single-season doubles wins in Rams history. Also to mention, to not go with 2 more dubs in singles from Bushkova. She's now only 2 wins away from breaking into the top 10 for most single-season victories in singles as a Ram. With all of these marks in mind, the work that Miley Tran and the rest of these young women are doing has been critical in turning this program around. And needless to say, it makes tennis fans like me really excited for the future of this program. I just cannot wait to see what they accomplish next.
And moving past some scores and updates in the world of CSU sports and on to some other news. In case some of you don't know, March 31st marked the end of International Women's Month for 2022. And although this extremely important set of weeks happens every year, in the last 12 months or so, I feel like there has been a lot of progress happening when it comes to women breaking boundaries in athletics, especially here at CTV. So with that in mind, I had the amazing opportunity last week to talk to a few different women who compete in the various sports and competitive activities here on campus. Not just what it looks like for them now, but also what it was like to grow up as a female athlete in a male-dominated world.
I play women's rugby and I just started in the fall, but I played sports like my whole life.
Yeah, I'm involved in the esports team. I'm on the Valorant Green team, so it's been fun, but it's basically just a 5v5 FPS shooting game, and I've been playing for, specifically this game I've been playing for probably like the past 2 years, but gaming like my whole life, so.
And I play rugby.
How long have you been playing for?
Since last fall, or this past fall, but I've been playing sports for a while. We never really had the fans, I guess, in female sports, so that just kind of created a closer bond within our team. We always had that depend on each other kind of thing going, because if other people weren't there to support us, we always knew we had the support from each other.
I think online is just a whole other realm when it comes to being like a female gamer or whatever.
Well, growing up as a female involved in sports, I was lucky enough to grow up going to an all-girls middle and high school. So if women didn't play sports, we'd have no sports teams. A lot of discredit to what we did. A lot of men typically tell us that we're not as good as what we do because we don't have the same strength as them.
I think that there's a lot of just general like over-sexualization and name calling, and also just, you know, everybody just treating you differently because of your gender. I feel like it gets worse when you're a teenager because, you know, guys will just, or even other girls will just pick you apart for everything, it kind of feels like online.
Did also swim on club swim teams and play tennis with boys, but honestly I had a fairly good experience for the most part. When someone told me play like a girl when I was a kid, it was kind of like a kick to the stomach almost. It was like oh, like you're never gonna be as good as we are, because I played a lot of like co-ed pickup sports with some of my friends around the neighborhood, and that term was used kind of frequently.
Honestly, it was kind of just like, I almost took it as a compliment, like, yeah, I am, because like, yeah, that's a good thing, that's cool. But I think online it's used just a lot, and like, oh, you're playing bad because of your gender, and like, oh, you're doing this because you're a woman and whatever. So I think growing up it got a lot more of a negative connotation with it, just because it started to be used as an insult rather than, oh yeah, that's my gender and that is what I'm doing, I'm playing.
We were girls, that's how we played. Like, it wasn't derogatory in any way, it was just a description of how we played sports because of our gender. Just means that we should be celebrating all types of women from around the world.
I think it should just be an everyday thing, you know. I think that it's good that these more marginalized groups are getting, you know, the attention and the support that they need, but I do think that it needs to just honestly be just an everyday thing. Every day should be International Women's Day, or, you know, it should just be a daily thing.
I don't know, I understand the appreciation and wanting to use that month to appreciate women in sports and science, education and whatnot. I think we should just do it every day though. I think it shouldn't necessarily just be 1 month in which we put emphasis on it. But I think job's not finished, so.
Madeline, I don't know how I'm possibly going to be able to top the experience of talking with these girls. I know you grew up as a female athlete, and so did I, in a various amount of sports, and this was just incredible for me to be able to do that kind of childhood recall and reflect on everything now with Women's History Month. I mean, I just love it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was definitely really cool getting out there and talking to some athletes that weren't in the predominantly female sports. I mean, I grew up in kind of predominantly female sports, so I'm not sure that I really had the same experience as some of these girls, but it's great to talk about, and it's great to shed light on.
Absolutely. Just seeing everything that's going on with women in March Madness and how much they're working towards equality, and just seeing how much camera time they get compared to how they used to. It's really, really nice, really refreshing.
Yeah, inspiring too. And with that, Rams, it's time for a very quick break.
When we come back, Cam will give you an inside look into what the Outlaws have been up to now that basketball season is over. Stay tuned.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
What's up, Rams, and welcome back to Cam's Corner. I'm your host, Cameron Evig. Now, obviously, we usually focus on CSU sports here on this show, and sometimes we focus on a specific person. But what about the people who fill the stands? From the San Jose State Duck at the Mountain West tournament last month to the New Mexico superfan known as Snake, the Mountain West has its fair share of great fans, and the Ram faithful have always been in that category. But recently, these Colorado State freshmen have really taken their love for CSU athletics to a completely different level.
So how did you guys get the name the Outlaws of Moby? How did that just come about?
Well, so the name really came from Anthony's hallway. So we're all kind of hanging out one night playing music, just a little bit too loud to their liking, and they saw the cowboy hats and they just started calling us, "There's the Outlaws." So it just kind of stuck.
That's so cool. And then you came here, and then you were in the front row a lot of the time, so you guys showed up early for a lot of these games because we know how packed Moby gets. When did you decide that this was going to be, we're the Outlaws of Moby? We are a solid group, and we want to be known as the Outlaws of Moby. When did that kind of click for you guys?
It was mainly when a bunch of alumni and CSU fans came up to us and was just saying they liked the hats, pretty much telling us how much we put a face on just the athletics, the basketball team. We're bringing the energy, they like to see it. So it's just when people were coming up to us, wanting to take pictures with us because of all of our hats, it was a cool experience.
Yeah, that's such a cool experience. And a lot of people know you guys from the basketball games, right? But something they don't know is you guys go to way more than just the basketball games. Yep. We see you at a lot of different sporting events. Why do you guys feel like it's important for you not to just show up there at the basketball games where, a lot of the students want to be in, but I think you guys were at a lacrosse game the other day, not a lot of fans at those. What makes you guys go to those ones too?
We actually just enjoy going to all the sports events together, just all of us wanting to have a fun time together, all of us friends. We have a lot of passions for all the different CSU sports. So it's just not the label on basketball, it's all the different sports for CSU.
I'm Cameron Evig with CTV, and these are the Outlaws of Moby, and we'll see you next season.
After hearing their words firsthand, it's really clear that the Outlaws are going above and beyond to continue to be loyal Ram fans. I mean, just in this last week alone, I've seen them at a lacrosse game, a women's rugby tournament, and a softball game. Of all things, they're everywhere. And I know for a fact that they've been to plenty of more things than I can even keep count of, and plan to keep the tradition of the hats and cowboy clothes going even after they graduate, passing the hats down to new Outlaws when that time comes. And luckily for them, and for all of us who love the Rams, they have another 3 years before that time comes, and we will be seeing them at many more CSU games in the future. If you want to learn more about the Outlaws of CSU, you can follow them on Twitter and Instagram at Outlaws of CSU and Outlaws _of CSU_ on Instagram. Needless to say, I think they're worth a follow. But hey, that's all I've got time for tonight, but stick around for Out of Pocket. We'll be right back.
Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
What's up, Ram fans? Welcome back from the break, and yes, to the return of Out of Pocket after week off. We have plenty of talk about, so let's just get into it. Now, Madeline brought up the topic of football and the upcoming season in the fall, and there has been so much talk about where this season is going to put us in the standings for the Mountain West. Yeah. I've heard perfect season. I've heard we are not going to win a game. So before I tell you guys how I feel about it with them being under Jay Norvell now, I want to know where you guys stand. Is this going to be an overrated team, or do we actually stand a chance this season?
I'm going to kind of leave most of the debate to you guys, just because, you know, football's not my specialty. And you guys obviously know a little bit more than I do in this area. But as someone who has been to a couple of the practices so far, I will say I am impressed with what I have seen with the culture and the relationship that they have created. I think that it seems really positive. There's a lot of, you just get good vibes when you go. And I don't feel like I really ever felt that last season at the football games.
No.
There always felt like there was this tension.
Steve Adazio was such a Debbie Downer.
It felt like there was this. It felt like there was this tension between Steve Adazio and the rest of the players, and I'm not feeling that so far. So I do have to say that I am optimistic and I am positive. I'm pretty excited, to be honest.
Yeah, no, when it was Steve Adazio, it felt like it was the team against Adazio and the other team was nowhere in the question. But with this year, I feel like it's genuinely going to be Norvell and the team against the opponent. And I'm really, really excited for that. I think he has just created such a good environment. I don't know about perfect season. I think it's going to take a little bit more of a half a year to get there for CSU. But I think we've got a better shot this year than we had last year, and I think that's something to say for a new coach.
Oh, absolutely. I 100% agree with that statement. But for me, I'm not going to be all negative about it. I do think that they are going to be a better team than they were last year. Not that hard to do, but I do think that they are going to improve. My issue is there's a lot of stock being put into Coach Norvell right now, and we haven't seen him play a game. Obviously, we've seen the things that he's done that were better than Steve Adazio. But it's not hard to be better than Steve Adazio. So although I am trying to be positive, and I really would love for CSU to perform a lot better than they did last year, I'm just not going to come out and say they're going to go 12-0 or that they're going to win even 9 or 10 games next season. I haven't seen anything that makes me think that. You got your talented receiver, Dante right back, but you lose the best tight end in the nation to the draft.
I miss you, Trey McBride.
Scott Patchen also going to the draft. You're losing a lot of great pieces for CSU. For me, it's tough. I think Norvell's a better coach than Steve Adazio. I think Norvell's a better coach than Mike Bobo. I do not think Norvell is going to leave us to a 12-0 season or a season over 10 wins.
Not yet. Not yet. We could get there.
Right.
I feel like, honestly, we're all kind of in agreement about this one, and that's kind of rare. But we're going to move it on to our game picks, because who doesn't love pick'ems? We all do. And I was kind of pulling out ahead a little bit, but then I kind of fell back into the rankings, and Cam has been pulling out ahead. And Ella is catching up, and honestly, with my picks tonight, she has a chance of overriding me. And I don't think that we should waste any time here, because we've got some exciting picks, so let's just get right into them. Our first game of the night is the final in March Madness against 8-seed UNC and 1-seed Kansas. I don't have a ton to go off of here, but I did pick Kansas in all of my brackets to win it all. And my high school English teacher she is a huge Kansas fan, and she told me to cheer for her team. So Miss Kerrigan, this is for you. I'm choosing Kansas.
Miss Kerrigan knows best.
You know, when you look at the stats, it's kind of strange how almost identical these two teams match up. You know, they both shoot 36 from the three-point line. They're both incredibly explosive. They both shot the same amount of points in the Final Four, which I thought was really strange. They had both ended up with 81 points. So what I think the difference on this one is going to be is the boards. And without a question, UNC all season has just been dangerous against the glass. Absolutely. I mean, not just Baycott, the whole team. They had 50 rebounds against Duke. 50! That is a team's worst nightmare, offensively and defensively. So I think that is going to be enough for UNC to take it against Kansas.
Yeah, Ella, we're on the same page here. I also believe that UNC can take this game. You know, UNC started out the tournament very hot, beating the 1 seed Baylor, and I think they're going to end the tournament very hot. They already did it by beating Duke, sending Coach K a packing, and now they're going to do it again. Kansas is not going to beat Duke in this game. 1 seed, 2 seed, UCLA at 4 seed. They beat St. Peter's, who we all know had that legendary run going. UNC's just on a hot streak right now. I do not see Kansas being able to beat them. Even though Kansas did beat a very good Villanova team, UNC's track record for me just a little bit better, and I think UNC is going to come out with this dub and be national champions.
I don't know if you agree with me on this one, Cam, but if it was Duke, Kansas, I would pick Duke.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is also one of the strongest reasons I have to take UNC for this one. I mean, they beat arguably the best team in the country. Duke fell short against UNC the last game of the regular season and in the tourney. I don't know if that's just a kryptonite thing. But, yeah, no, I would have picked Duke against Kansas, and I'm going to stick with UNC against Kansas.
Yeah, I mean, 100% I think UNC is going to take it. But we have to move on to our second pick-up. And this one, I know one of us has been at least waiting for it. It's opening day for the MLB at Coors Field. Rockies versus Dodgers. Rockies got Chris Bryant. Dodgers are just Thanos. Who is going to win this game? Madeline, you start.
The Rockies are going to take it. Let me just say this real quick. Kyle Freeland, opening day starter. 2017, Kyle Freeland's major league debut, opening day start at Coors Field, dub in that category. They sent Clayton Kershaw packing. That was incredible. You always know what they say. History repeats itself. It's going to repeat itself on Friday. The Rockies are winning. Not a doubt in my mind.
Ella, what you got?
I mean, if you follow baseball, you know the Dodgers are going to win the World Series this year. They're the most OP team in the MLB. And for that reason alone, I'm not worried about them beating the Rockies. I mean, the Rockies are not in the top 10, not in the top 15 in my opinion. So that's all there is to it. I'm going to take the Dodgers.
Rockies lose Story. Rockies gain Chris Bryant. But is that enough to have this Rockies team be a playoff team? Absolutely not. We know their history against the Dodgers. The Dodgers are to the Rockies what the Chiefs are to the Broncos, unbeatable to that organization. That's all we got.
Ram fans, that is all the sports news we've got for you tonight. That was a busy one. Make sure to tune in for Ren Wadsworth on desk tomorrow, and we'll see you so soon. Have a wonderful night. Enjoy the start of baseball. Finally.